So you've got 6 components on this object. What are they? The foot. What did you call them? Let's see what you called them. The base, the leg, the left stepper, the right stepper, the roller, and the screws. Okay, you don't need screws for these working drawings. Now, do you have a set of orthographics for the screw?
No, that's Wesley drawing that.
Oh, I see. Oh, and for the roller too.
That's what you have to change.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I thought
Yeah, it's okay then to have it in there. That's fine. But generally, when you say screws, you're going to give more detail for the size of the screws and stuff. Hunter, would you mind closing that door? Okay. So we'll look at the foot first. Now, what you've got here is you've got a table. It's basically the table of contents for your set of working drawings because you have the drawing number. So part number is on drawing 1 and so on. You've got 2 of these bases. Okay, good. Now, all I would do to change this here is boldface the header here. Okay, so make that bold-faced. All right, good. And then, see, I also like circles instead of rectangles. It's okay, but circles are better. All right, good. You got units, you got your name, you've got the title, full assembly. All right, now your title should have drawing 1, full assembly. And then these drawings, this one won't be 1 anymore. That'll become 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Now, the reason we actually should be lowercase w and g. The reason we call this drawing 1 is so that there's no question that this drawing goes with the other working drawings that make up this object. Okay? Alright, so let's move on to the next drawing, which is drawing 2, your base. Well, the other thing you should be doing that I noticed Connor didn't do either is the name of the file. It should be drawing 1. You know, call the file what you've called this title here. And the name of the file, you can't use a colon in your file naming, but use a dash or something. That'll help like a whole lot if you do it that way. Have a folder called Bending Apparatus Working Drawings, and then each file is the name of the drawing. That'll simplify life for you. Okay. Any other questions at this point? All right, let's go to the base drawing. It should be great if it were titled. What did you call it? Ortho leg stand. All right, good. Now we said that this should be called what? This would be drawing 2, and it should be the name of the should be the name of the part. So yeah, so if you call that base, then here it should be drawing 2 base. So the name of the title of the drawing, it starts with the drawing number, and then it's the actual title of the part from here, the name of the part. Now, this drawing, this looks good. Don't put a border around your notes. So the first issue I have with these drawings is that they're so tight. Oh, you've got a border around this. There should be no border there. You've already got a border here. Okay, so one issue I've got with these drawings is, what are the dimensions of your right side view? Why don't you have any dimensions there? If you don't have any dimensions on it, then you don't need the drawing, because everything on here is already dimensioned here. Now, the other thing I want to point out about these dimensions is, how could you make this look better? This is actually already pretty big font. If we compare it to the title down here, this is size 11 font. That means that this is going to be like 12 or 13. So this is actually big enough. If we printed it, we could line these two up so we don't have one and stagger it. If they were directly next to each other, that would look better. And if it were centered in between this line and this line, it would look better, wouldn't it? Remember, you want things to look good. Things should look pretty. So in general, if something's pretty but isn't as good, it helps to be pretty. For this assignment, the most important part is getting the working drawings done. But you want to make everything look good and tight and technical. I mean, the difference is, if you go for a job interview, and there's someone equally as smart as you, equally as, good as you, but his work looks better than yours, who are they going to hire? It's just, unfortunately, it's the way the world works. I'm not saying it's right, but lining those dimensions up, it does convey something. It conveys that you've got an eye for detail, And it's alright. If your drawings don't do that this first time around, you know, that's okay because it's the first time we're going through this. And I'm going to make notes on all of these things for you. If you've got some particular ugliness in your drawings, you might get points off for it. But for something like that, that's no problem. Okay, second thing is, what's the radius of this circle? Yes, you make me think about it.
Yeah.
It's 2 millimeters,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because 5.1 centimeters minus 4.7 centimeters, 0.4 centimeters divided by 2 for each of those circles is 0.2 centimeters, which is 2 millimeters.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be way easier if you just dimension that radius right there so I wouldn't have to calculate anything? You should always dimension your circles in some way or another. Okay, so put a radius on there, and then guess what? You don't need that 4.7 centimeter dimension. Now, is there anything wrong with the way you've done it? No, but which one communicates more quickly, more easily? Having the radius. Okay, now here's one issue. Look at this dimension there. I see what you've done here.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
It doesn't look pretty.
It doesn't look pretty. It's also pretty small and faded. So there might be issues with someone even being able to read it. But it definitely doesn't look pretty. So you guys, we covered how to move the dimensions, right? If you right click on a dimension, click Entity Info, and you can shift it up above so you can see it better. So this is one of those examples. If you don't need this right side view, what might be a better way of orienting your drawings? Anybody? How about that? You know, you could do it like that. Since you only need the front and this side, you could call this the front and that the side. What you can't do though, I mean, these dimensions are on the side, which isn't wrong, but if all your other drawings have your dimensions right side up, this hidden line right there, you guys see that? That hidden line is from what?
The circle.
The edge of the other circle, right?
The right, yeah.
But if there's a line there, then shouldn't there be a line straight down here too? If this is a symmetrical object and you've got a line on this side, there better be a line on this side. Or no line on either side. You get what I'm saying?
On which side you saying?
So right, this hidden line shows this point right there.
Okay. And then it needs to be one.
But if there's a line there, there should be a line down here too. Same with those hidden lines. So you can get rid of that 4.7 centimeters dimension and just dimension that radius and you're good to go. Alright, one other thing about this drawing that's missing that I want you to have. So it's not so bad with this foot. This foot's pretty obvious. But if I want to see what this object looks like three-dimensionally, where do I have to go? To the isometric, the first assembly. Instead, you could add in an isometric of just the foot right here. Another thing you could do, which I don't know which one I prefer, and move this whole thing over there. What did you call it? The shrink this down and put that right there. So you could do it like that. On every drawing, you would have your assembly and just pointing at the different parts. That's kind of a cool way of doing it. Or you would just have that foot. You know, you just have the foot. Get rid of the other piece. But show an isometric of the foot. And maybe you would show it this way. Now why is that helpful? Because now you see the object. So I would get rid of this part and you would see the object. So if you've already got your dimensioning for these, for your orthographics, then showing that isometric is very quick and easy. It's just another screenshot into your drawing. Any questions? Let's go to, alright. So on this one, this will be something you guys work out as you do these. So it's not going to be a problem on these drawings. You won't lose points for it. But the size of this dimension, the height of that font, should be this. You want to equalize that. Oh yeah, right. The size of that text. It'd be nice if they were all the same. Just how far in you've zoomed, how far out you've zoomed. It doesn't matter for this assignment. You do not have to fix this. But in the future, you just want to keep an eye on that kind of thing.
Okay.
All right? Again, so you want to have the isometric drawing. Take the border off these notes. And the title again would be DWG 3. And then what's this item called? Left stepper. Like that. Let's take a look at these dimensions right here. What is the purpose of working drawings? So you give all the details about an object and any other information so that someone can make it. So let's take a look at this front view. And let's say you want to make this object. And you cut out the shape right. You got everything done except for the circles. How would you go about drilling those circles? If you were going to draw a circle on paper, what two pieces of information do you need to know? It's 0.6 plus 0.4, so that's 1 centimeter over, right? How far up is it? It's not given, right?
Yeah.
But what might be a better way of dimensioning this so I don't have to think about it? You could just give 1 centimeter to the center and then give the radius as 0.4. Then I've got to do 0 calculations. Now, do you have to change that for tomorrow? No. But in the future, you just want to keep an eye on things like that. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at your notes. Material is made of 5/8 inch plywood. The wood appears to be sanded except for the cutout area. All right. You wouldn't say the wood appears to be because you're giving someone instructions to make it, right? The wood is sanded. Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, just don't even put that in there. Because if they want to sand that, great. Sanded and stained. Circles are where the screws will be drilled to attach the stepper to the legs. Okay, good. What's missing from your right side view and your top view? These are holes, right? I don't see them. If you're going to give where it's going to be drilled in, you just give a point. So I'm guessing the right stepper looks just the same? Yeah, okay, good. You got these hidden lines, right?
Yeah.
That looks good. You got that hidden line. It's good. Again, with dimensions, you know. All right, so what is this a drawing of? What is this object on here?
The ruler.
The ruler. Do you identify that anywhere?
The rectangle.
I would still have a little note, arrow saying ruler or something.
Okay.
Or say see note number 2 or something.
Okay.
And these should be numbered, by the way.
Number.
That way you can refer to the numbers more easily. What else? Yeah, so I would move the 6.1 centimeters down, the text down so that you can see it better.
Okay.
Keep an eye on that. The ruler doesn't actually go here. So that's a problem with putting the ruler in this drawing. Hunter, would you mind grabbing that? The problem with putting the ruler in this drawing is that it needs to be very specific. So the ruler is in a very specific location. So that kind of detail you can't really get on this.
Okay.
The way you've done this is pretty cool to identify it. But notice you zoom in and, oh, I see. What is that 0.7 there?
The arrow.
Oh, I see, because that's right there. Oh, I see, yeah. If I took a second and looked at it. Why is this a hidden line here? Yeah, that should be solid. Now the other thing is these holes here in this material aren't that big. That's the size of the hole that the screw head was in, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to nitpick about that for this assignment because you guys will get better at that. Okay, it's cool that you refer to the drawings. Yeah, and I would keep the same shorthand because we're calling them DWG down here, and then here you do DWG as well. I would keep it that way. Yeah, so I would dimension that radius. Now what you do need to show though is how far up is it that circle begins. So you should dimension, say, from this point down to this point. That's fine. Technically this line shouldn't be there. However, in your isometric, you have a line there, right? Because you have that line there, it's actually okay for him to have that hidden line. I would actually take that line out. I would hide it. I think that's more appropriate. But because he has this here, I think it's okay for him to show it. And then you can actually use that to dimension. But I wouldn't dimension up to show the radius. You actually need to dimension down to where the circle begins. And maybe what you do is you dimension this space, you dimension this space, and you dimension this space too, so you have the total. And you should do this one, and then that one. Do you give the width of this object anywhere? You give half of it, right?
Yeah.
And again, notice the spacing here between the dimension and the object compared to this spacing here. You know, try to make it consistent. Doesn't need to be that tall. No, you're not going to have working drawings for the mousetraps. You have instructions. Your first project will have working drawings. This. What are the issues you guys find with this drawing? This is the final assembly. So the whole purpose of any final assembly drawing is to show how the stuff gets put together. So he would need measurements to show where this gets placed. It does matter. So it's just kind of like these lines hanging out. So what do we do about that? Technically, what you would do is have what's called a break line. And a break line is if I'm only showing part of an object and I don't show the bottom, yeah, you could just draw a line. But the problem with a line is you might think that's the object. You could do a dotted line. Dash you don't want to do because that would convey hidden. You could do like a double or something. The dotted is probably a good one to go with, actually. You can kind of notice it right there. See that? What if we change the size? There it is. Something like that, I think, is fine. Just the show. You should have notes on here saying what's going on too. Like, you know, you have the drawing number, and then even in the title you can kind of say what's happening. You could say location of stepper on base, or whatever you call this thing. Now the other thing is you don't really need the whole object here, because you're not even given dimensions on this left side. You could just give that and then give a note saying dimensions are symmetrical on the other side. Well, actually, Connor doesn't need this assembly drawing at all. And why he doesn't is because he's got this dimension here, and he shows those dimensions there and the location, except you don't say how far down it is. Because you're showing where the holes are here, and you show where the holes are on the stepper, it's obvious that those two line up, right? So you don't need that final assembly. But some of you might not have these holes on this drawing, in which case you need them. You need to show spacing somewhere. If you've got the holes on the little stepper thing, if you've got the holes on the support structure here, they line up. And that's obvious from the initial assembly drawing right here. Alright, so for circles, guys, you really should be dimensioning your circles, either with radius or diameter. So you just click the dimension tool and see how the semicircle's highlighted?
Right.
That's it. You can do it inside, outside, whatever. It's much better than doing, you know, this line. If it's a circle, it'll go to diameter. It's a full circle. And diameter is just fine too. Because actually, you guys used drill bits before. How are drill bits identified?
By diameter.
By diameter. You know, so for those holes, diameter is better. For the arch, radius is just fine.
Everything.
Make it prettier. Just add isometrics to the different components too, in the top right corner.